Hi vinyl community, it's Mike here, and in today's video I'm going to show you what I've been listening to in the last 3 or 4 weeks. Quite a few of these actually are new acquisitions, some that I picked up from Leeds Record Fair last month and a few others that I picked up from elsewhere, various shops in Leeds. So without further ado, let's go. And it's a bit of a mixed bag really, as usual. So I start with this one, and this is one that I got at Leeds Record Fair. And it's Australian garage punk, and it's a band that Ben Rankins really likes, and this is Split System. And this is their debut album. It's called Volume 1, and it's absolutely brilliant. So there you go. Those are the tracks on it. The first track really sort of sets the whole tone for the album. It's called The End, and if you like bands like the Saints, then you're gonna love Split System. And as I say, Ben Rankins really loves this band. But if that recommendation isn't good enough for you, there's something on the back here, and it's always a guarantee of quality for any Australian album. If you see this name, and it's down here. And it says mastered by Mikey Young. So just about any album from Australia that Mikey Young is involved in is going to be an absolute banger, and this is no exception. So as I say, the first track, The End, is absolutely brilliant bit of garage punk, but it just sort of carries on, ringing in my head. The last track on side one again is really brilliant. Side 2, Ultimatum, again, it's a real great track. But I've been looking for a Split System album for quite some time now, and I finally found one about 4 weeks ago. So there you go. That's the inner. So that's a picture on that side, and then lyrics and various details on the back there. And if you want to know the label, it's on Drunken Sailor Records. So there you go, down that, Drunken Sailor Records, and that's the first one, Split System Volume 1. Right, something completely different. Now this is an album, it's a debut album, and it was initially released in 1993, I think, and it was released on CD only, and then there was a vinyl issue of it in 2019, and this is it. It's on the World Circuit label. And it's a brilliant Radio Tarifa from Spain. And as you can see, the album's called Rumba Angelina. And as I say, it's their debut album. It's a double album, but I mean, each of the sides is quite short, really. You know, I think it's one of those. It's too big to get onto a single album, too small to really be a double album. But there you go. So it's spread out a bit, but it's an absolutely gorgeous album. So Radio Tarifa is an imaginary radio station from the town of Tarifa in southern Spain, in the province of Cadiz, I think. And the band are sort of, they take their influences from sort of all over. There's flamenco in here. There's sort of Arab, Andalusian sort of, southern Spanish sort of music. There's influences from all over the Mediterranean, and also the Caribbean in there. And instead of creating a sort of a fusion of all of these musical sounds, they've been looking at the sort of common histories of the music, and a lot of this goes right back, they say, to 1482 or 1492. I wrote it down, when the Moors and the Jews were expelled from southern Spain by the Christians, and so what they've done is they've taken the sort of history of this music and the sort of the common roots of the music, and they've kind of invented their own style, really. And as I say, it's an absolutely gorgeous album, and so it's on the World Circuit label, which is a pretty good sort of world music, international label. So I'll show you the insert here. So you got lyrics on here. So there you go. And yeah, so what's on here? Yeah, I mean the title track, Rumba Argelina, is really fantastic. And what else you got in here? Soledad, which is the track on side 2. What else? La Mosca and La Pastora. But all the tracks on here are absolutely brilliant. As I say, it's this amalgamation of all different sort of music coming from particularly southern Spain, but also from North Africa and around the Mediterranean. So there you go. So that's Radio Tarifa and their debut album, Radio Argelina. Right. What's next? Oh yes, this is an album from Canada, and this is the second album from a folk Americana singer from Ottawa, I believe, and it's Myriam Gendron. So she's French Canadian, and the album, as you can see, is called Mar Délire, which I'm not really sure what it means. Is it my my delusion, my delirium, my insanity, something like that, or my fanaticism for the music? I don't really know. I don't really know sort of quite how it translates here, but it's songs that she really loves. And the subtitle of this album is Songs of Love Lost and Found. So it's a collection of American folk music, songs that she loves, and there's some French tunes in here. So she sings mainly in English, but sometimes in French. So you've got her version of the American folk classic Shallandor is on here, and then there's Whaley Whaley, but then there's a track Au Cœur de Ma Délire or Délire, and it's I'd really recommend this album. I didn't really know anything about Myriam Gendron, but I saw it on a record shop sort of website, and I thought, oh, that looks quite interesting. So I gave it a listen online and decided, yeah, this is for me. So it's got a nicer inner there with various details about the music, and I would really recommend this album. And probably anything that she's done. So it's as I say, it's American folk, Americana. There's some French sort of folk stuff in here, but she gives it her own sort of spin, her own interpretation. And I really love this album, Myriam Gendron. Right, now 2 albums I picked up from the same seller at Leeds Record Fair last month, and they're both sort of psychedelic folk. So the first one is an album from 1970, is it? 1970, yeah. It's Dr. Strangely Strange, and it's heavy petting. Now, this, quite clearly, it's a reissue, because originals of this album go for silly money, and even if I saw a copy, I think I would probably pass on it. But it's a really, really nice album to have, and it's their second album, and it kind of folds out like this, and like that. So there you go. So it's there's a picture of that. You can see the band on here, and it's really, as I say, it's psychedelic folk. It's a bit quirky. It's very, it's very much sort of, very much of its time, I think 1970. But Summer Breeze, that's a fantastic track. What else have we got on here? I can't see. Yeah, Love Was at Home. That's the one. That's the one on side two. That's probably my favourite track of all. But it's an album that I'd love to get the debut. Actually, I'm looking for that. But again, I wouldn't go for an original because they're far too expensive. But I was really pleased to see this album, and it's a no-brainer really to sort of go and go and buy the thing. So that's a bit of psychedelic folk from 1970, and almost next to the Doctor Strangely Strange on the on this particular stall in the same crate there was this, and it's another album from the early 70s. This time it's from 1971, and the band is Bread, Love and Dreams, and the album is called sort of Amaryllis, and this is a reissue from 2007, I think. No, yes, 2007, I think, on the Sunbeam label. I think Doctor Strangely Strange was 2007 reissue as well. But there you go. There's lots of details about Amaryllis here. Now, Amaryllis was a sort of, it's kind of project. It's to be sort of listened to as a whole, and it was first performed in Antwerp in Belgium in 1970. Apparently, then they performed it at the Edinburgh Festival either later that year or in 1971. And as I say, this album was recorded in 1971. And the band on here, you've got David McNiven, who's sort of guitar and vocals, and he's the main sort of writer, I think, for the band. And then you've got Angie Roux, another member of the band, and Alan Trajan. But you've also got the great Danny Thompson, who appears on so many of the great sort of folk albums from the 1970s onwards. Danny Thompson, sadly died recently, and he was a great double bass player, and much in demand in the folk world. So if he's on an album, then again I think you can be pretty sure that it's going to be a decent album. And Terry Cox plays the drums on this as well. And Terry Cox was most famously a member of Pentangle. And sadly, Terry died as well very recently, I think as recently as last month. But the album itself, as I say, it's a bit of a sort of concept album really. And it's got, so side one, you just got, Amaryllis parts 1, part 2 and part 3. So part 1 is Out of the Darkness and Into the Night. Then part 2 is Zoroaster's Prophecy. And then part 3 is called Light. And then side 2 you got Time's the Thief, The Stair Cupboard at 3 a.m, which sounds quite spooky, doesn't it? Brother John and Circle of Night. So, let's say that the whole thing was a sort of concept of David McNiven, and Amaryllis by Bread, Love and Dreams, and again, it's right next to the Doctor Strangely Strange album, and again, I've been looking for this. This is very much sort of psychedelic acid folk, and it's a wonderful album, and even if it is a reissue, I'm quite happy for it to be in my collection. I don't really care as long as it's a good recording. I don't care what it is, and reissues are probably or usually a lot more reasonably priced, aren't they? Right, next one up is an album that was released this year, and it's called Tragic Magic, and it's by Julianna Barwick and Mary Lattimore. Well, Julianna Barwick is a keyboard player, synth player, and a singer. And Mary Lattimore is American, I believe, and she's a harpist. And they've come together and they've created this sort of wonderful thing. It's electronic music. It's very ethereal, and I do realise I use the word ethereal far too much, I think, on my videos. But this really is an ethereal album. Really nice sort of floaty sort of lyrics, and you've got the harp and the synthesizer together, and yeah, it's just marvelous. And we've got this quite lovely sort of insert that's a sort of double thing. So you got these sort of pictures here, and then it sort of folds out, and you can see there that you got down in the bottom corner, that's Julianna Barwick, and then Mary Lattimore with her harps at the top here, and then on the back of here you got another sort of picture here, and then you've got all the instruments. So you got three of Mary's harps, and then three synthesizers, and all the details about them if if you're interested in that sort of thing. But it really, they really create a lovely sort of electronic soundscape. So they start off with a track called Perpetual Adoration that, sets off with just Mary playing the harp, and then the synths come in, and it's really, really lovely. The Four Sleeping Princesses, Temple of the Winds, Haze with No Haze, then side 2, Rachel's Song, Stardust, and Melted Moon. And if you want to listen to this, well, not necessarily the album, but want to see them perform, they very recently did a session on KEXP Seattle, and of course, that session is readily available on YouTube. So I would recommend you go and have a listen to that, go and have a watch, because it's absolutely lovely. So this is it, Tragic Magic by Julianna Barwick and Mary Lattimore. So that's that. So right, there's just one more album to go, and then I'll show you some singles as well. So this again was a pick-up at Leeds Record Fair, and international music, world music, whatever you like to call it, tends to be quite inexpensive. I think people tend not to sort of go for it very much, and I picked up this double album for not very much at all. And you can see it's a compilation. It's called Ote Maloya, and say the subtitle there is the birth of electronic Maloya on Reunion Island, 1975 to 1986, and it's not a style of music that I really sort of knew very much about. So Reunion Island was actually not populated at all until about 400 years ago, and people came over from Madagascar because it's off the East African coast. I think it's south of Madagascar, and it became a French colony. And I think it's now still in French hands. It's a department of France itself, but it was an island, steeped in slavery basically, and the music here, the Maloya music, sort of originates from the sort of slave music that was called Sega, but this sort of more sort of modern stuff, the electric stuff from the 70s and 80s, it takes all sorts of other sort of influences. You've got jazz funk, you've got blues, you've even got reggae in there, and the album itself comes with a nice sort of booklet that's got lots of details about the origins of the music, about the island itself, and about some of the artists that are featured in the on the album. So I'll show you the back, so you can see who's on there. So again, as I say, it's a nice double album, and it's lots and lots of lots and lots of interesting stuff. So Chameleon are the first band on here. That was a really nice track to start off with. But I mean, I can't really pick any of these out as being, particularly sort of standouts, because the whole album just it just washes over you. It's just really lovely stuff. I suppose Tarifa, so P. Bodie, and I probably pronounced that wrong. That's a track that sticks in the mind. But yeah, so that's all the album. So that's a bit of Maloya from Reunion Island in the Indian Ocean. Right, so I've got some singles down here, and again, it's mainly folk singles, apart from the last one. So the first one is a folk band, contemporary folk band from the UK, from London, and they're called Common Ground. They're called Stick in the Wheel, and the single is called Common Ground, and the B-side is Hasp. And I had no idea about this band, and when I bought this on spec really, and when I looked them up online, I found that they've made about 6, 7, 8 albums before. And yeah, it's really, really, really nice sort of contemporary folk music. So I think I'll be on the lookout for more of their stuff in future. So that was like the second and the third are both from the same band. And this is a band that's been going since the late 60s. And they're still going strong today. And it's Irish folk band, a duo, Leo O'Kelly and Sonny Candle from Dublin, known as Tir Na Nog. And this is their second single from 1971, I believe. No, 1972. Their second single, as you can see, it's on the Chrysalis label, and this is called "The Lady I Love," and on the B side, Heidi. So, they're very much in the sort of Irish tradition of music, but they're also, again, they're quite sort of psyche in a way. This was a band that I think sort of John Peel quite enjoyed sort of back in the day, and I can see why. Quite sort of psyche, quite gentle stuff really. But and this is the other single I picked up, and this is on a label called Freedom Air, and I know I've heard Dale at Gatefold 33. I think he buys quite a lot of stuff from them. He's probably on their mailing list or whatever. But again, Tir Na Nog, and this is from 2014, and it's an EP, and I'll show you the thing itself. Not that it's that exciting. And again, the tracks on here. They're called, I Have Known Love, You in Yellow on the A side, and then there's the Angelus on side 2, and it finishes with the fourth track on the EP, which is called I Pick Up Birds at Weddings. Sorry, I Pick Up Birds at Funerals. Yeah, very different. So there you go. So that's them. So, I think that if you like, Nick Drake, if you like Pentangle, you'd certainly like, I think, or you'd certainly worth listening to Tir Na Nog. And so it's 2 singles that I picked up by them, separated by about 40 odd years. So now this next one is by one of the greats of British folk, and that's Briggs, and it's an EP, and this is a reissue. This is a reissue from 2014 of an EP that initially came out in 1964. So it's the 50th anniversary of this particular EP, and yeah, I mean she's really, you know, she's really one of the greats of British folk, and the EP itself, you've got tracks on here which are Lowlands Away and My Bonnie Boy on side one, and you've got Polyvaughan, and then Rosemary Lane. And Rosemary Lane is probably most closely associated with Bert Jansch. So it's on the, you know, it's on the Topic label as it was in 1964. And I was watching French Vinyl Addict, and he did a video a couple of weeks ago, and he showed the Watersons album called Frost and Fire, and that was issued in 65 or 66, 1965, I think. And he made the point that up until that point, most folk recordings were singles and EPs. So there you go. So this is one from 1964, and it's really nice. It's got a nice inner with a picture of Anne there, and then there's various sort of newspaper cuttings about the EP itself, and then you also get this little leaflet with it, and it's a little synopsis of each of the tunes, written by the great A.L. Lloyd. So so that was a single, an EP that I was really pleased to pick up. Right, and now the very last record. Now, this is something completely different, and this is a band from Leeds, a band that I love, a band that started as punks, and most recently a very sort of folky Americana band. But this single that came out, well, only I think about a couple of weeks ago, you know, very much sort of harks back to their to their punk roots somewhat, and so it's a split single. So you got the Mekons on side one, and you've got Hagar the Womb on side two. So the Mekons track is called Out of Desperation, Luxury Chicken Song, and yes, it's a bizarre little tune. And as I say, this is the Mekons sort of not quite getting back to their sort of their punkiest, but certainly going away from their sort of Americana. And then on side two, you've got a band called from London called Hagar the Womb, and as you can see, it's called Fair Dodging with a Mekons rider, 3 beers and a lemon. And the story behind this is that a couple of years ago they were supporting Mekons at a gig in Brighton, and they said that whereas the Mekons had a lovely rider, including a big bowl of fruit with a big lemon sort of on the top, that they got virtually nothing. So when they'd finished their set, they had to rush off for their train, and before they left, they swiped 3 beers from the Mekons rider and the lemon from the top of the fruit bowl. They got to Brighton station, found that their tickets weren't valid, but they got on the train anyway. Sat down, drunk the beers, and they say that the song was written, shortly after the third beer was consumed, but the poor old lemon never got used for anything. It just rotted away, unfortunately. So that's the final single. So, I hope you enjoyed that. I've been going on a bit. This is nearly half an hour, which is quite a bit longer than my normal video. So I'll shut up now. And if you like it, leave me a comment, please. And I always like to read what you think. And till next time, I'll see you. So bye.